Diptyque Laurent is back with us now to take us through the international papers to see what's making headlines. Diptyque, I believe you're going to start with Lebanon's Prime Minister, still Prime Minister, even though he offered his resignation a while ago. He was giving an interview in French media.
That's right. He gave his first televised interview to a French TV station yesterday. It's the first televised interview he's given since he came back to Lebanon. Well, what happens in Saudi Arabia stays in Saudi Arabia. That seems to be the message from that interview, because we still don't know why that resignation announcement came from Saudi Arabia or if they played a hand in the resignation itself. That's according to L'Orient Le Jour, a French language newspaper. Another daily paper in Lebanon, the Daily Star, has published some excerpts from that interview. Hariri has said that his resignation was a positive shock for the country. He's also said that as long as Hezbollah stay neutral in the region, he'll stay prime minister.
That's a lot of the question is about Lebanon in general staying neutral and not being torn between Saudi Arabia and Iran, isn't it?
That's right. It's actually the focus of a editorial from L'Orient Le Jour this Tuesday. While certain observers might say it's kind of a foregone conclusion that Lebanon will inevitably be caught up in the middle of this power battle between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Well, the paper is saying, no, we need neutrality. Neutrality is the fundamental idea of our independence. In fact, neutrality, when Lebanon became independent in 1943, they signed a national pact, basically in which Christians agreed to stop turning to the West for protection and Muslims agreed to put aside their project for Arab unity. And it worked in the country. Each time that it's been violated, well, the country has erupted into war.
Okay, interesting article there. Let's move on. And French President Emmanuel Macron is on a 3-day, 3-country trip across Africa, where he started in Burkina Faso.
That's right. And we're looking at the front page of the Burkina Faso paper this Tuesday, which says that the president will pay tribute to the country's youth. Their young people are an emblem of democracy in Africa. Indeed, Macron will be speaking at a university in the Burkina Faso capital. That's what France 24's web team reports. It's his inaugural African tour. He's obviously been to Africa before as president, but it's the first tour that he's making. He said he wants to end France's grip over its former colonies and its system of serving its own interests, sometimes by propping up African dictators. Well, his tour what might work in his favor may be his own inexperience, because Macron was born long after many of the African colonies became independent, so he really owes nothing to the leaders there. He's never had close links with them, and therefore he may be freer to say what he really thinks.
Okay, well, we'll see as the day plays out. Meanwhile, Diptyque, I know you've been trying to rush through the news to get to this next story. It is the royal engagement. The UK's Prince Harry has made it official. He's going to marry American actress Meghan Markle.
That's right. And cue the cringy headlines. He's gone from Prince Harry to Prince Mary. That's what the Courier Mail says, an Australian paper, on its front page. The ginger-haired younger prince has had somewhat of a rebellious youth, but he's turned out to be a royal prince, really breaking ground now, because he's found love with Meghan Markle. She's the one. That's what The Sun says, another cringy headline. Now, their wedding is slated for next spring, and it's shaping up to be a royal wedding like no other. That's what the iPaper says on its front page.
It is a royal engagement, at least like no other, because one, Meghan Markle is American. She's also a divorcee. He's really changing the rules of engagement.
That's right. And she's biracial, which is really the focus of many of the papers, at least The Guardian, which has published a front page column on how Meghan Markle will change race relations forever in the UK. This marriage will show that a senior royal can love and marry someone whose ethnic heritage, I'm quoting here, is not just different to his own, but one that's been the most, quote, othered in Britain, black and African. Meghan Markle is, of course, she's a biracial, Donald Trump criticizing divorcee star of the TV show Suits. Now, compared to this, for one Slate writer, William and Kate Middleton look positively boring and conventional in comparison. Kate is, Slate says, stereotypically princessy, with the glossy hair, the porcelain skin, and the, quote, threadbare professional resume. That's a bit harsh, but unlike the glamour of Meghan Markle and her, quote, modern prince.
I was going to say she's pretty glossy hair as well. But now not everybody is on board with this engagement, are they?
No, we've seen some pretty harsh criticism from some of the conservative papers in the UK. Freddie Gray from The Spectator, a magazine in the UK, says, well, he really takes to task the royal brothers for what he says is dabbling in celebrity culture that's made the royal family look like like a reality show. William and Harry are widely loved by the public, but in 30 years' time, royal historians might look back at this engagement and ask, is this where it all started to go wrong? That's what the writer says in this article.
But when you go back the royal family, there was already a royal wedding to an American divorcee. I mean, it has happened, but yeah.
It's not the first time.
The best headline I've seen about this is successful American actress marries former soldier.
I like that.
Oh, that's great.
I like that. There's a good take on it. Finally, Diptyka, this makes me feel old, but it has been 20 years since James Cameron gave us the tearjerker Titanic, and now he's spilling some of the beans on his directorial choices.
Well, 20 years, 2 decades, we've been asking ourselves, why did Leonardo DiCaprio's character Jack Dawson have to die? Couldn't he fit on that wooden door? It was big enough for the both of them.
Too heavy?
Why didn't Rose make room for him, more importantly? Well, the street paper Metro reports that Cameron has told Vanity Fair that Jack dies because, I quote, it's called art. Things happen for artistic reasons and not physics. So his message to us, get over it, to us, that is, the grieving Titanic fans.
Okay, Diptyka Laurent with the International Press Review. Thanks indeed for that. Still